Alright, so we're back with another My Hero Academia episode. It's really early in the morning slash late at night, so people in my house are, kind of trying to sleep, they're doing their thing, and I'm up in the morning watching the next My Hero Academia episode, and this was a long week. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, from last Saturday to this Saturday. It was a long week for me because I said it before, but like a couple of weeks ago, I read ahead a little bit. When I say a little bit, like a good few chapters of the manga of where I was from the anime and forward, and I was really excited. I was really excited to see a lot of stuff that was going to happen in the future, just because of like some of the stuff that I mentioned, like Lady Nagant, who I think is like really cool. I think she has like a really cool design, and her quirk is really cool as well. Her like backstory, from what little I know of the character, of course, was also really interesting as well. Uh, and I just think like it was finally like time that the League of Villains got a character that I actually uh, think looks cool, because most of the League of Villain characters I don't really care all too much, besides like Shigaraki, but that's just because he's like the main bad guy besides All For One, so I kind of naturally have to like him. But another moment that I have been really waiting for since I read it in the manga, when I read that few chapters, uh, was the Hellish Todoroki Family Part 2, which is the next title of the episode for next week's episode from MHA Season 6. Basically, it just goes more into the backstory of what happened to Toya Todoroki, the eldest son of Endeavor and his wife, and how things turn out the way they did, and what created Dabi. And what happens in the episode in regards to Endeavor looking back at his life, and looking back at that point of his life when that happened, and how emotional he gets about that. That's something that I really, 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 really want to see, because I've said it before, and I'm thinking about making like a short listing off some of my top 5 favorite characters from MHA, but Endeavor is like almost most certainly like my favorite character in My Hero Academia. And that entire like moment in the manga, uh obviously, like, it just solidified that even more, right? As he's a character who went through his own selfish desires, and through his own selfish desires, drove his eldest son mad, by trying to push his ambitions onto his eldest one. And through that, his son went crazy, and then he ended up turning into a villain, without knowing that he had turned into a villain. But in regards to everything else revolving around his family, he distanced himself from them. He was abusive. He treated his youngest son horribly as well, by trying to put his ambitions onto Shoto. And only after, when he finally became the number one hero, but in the way that he didn't want to become number one, did he finally realize what it meant to actually be a hero, and he tried to go down a better path. And I don't know if it's going to be next week's episode when they're going to like show that off. I don't know if they're going to like build that more and more with like the next like 2 episodes. Probably not. They're probably not going to do it like that. They're probably going to condense, like, I think it was like 1 or 2 chapters of explaining the backstory of Dabi or Toya, and they're probably going to condense that in 1 episode, which is fine. I just really want to see that. I know it's going to be animated. I know it's going to be done so well. I just want to see it. And I'm only now just realizing that I haven't really talked about this episode at all. And that's just because we're still kind of like in between like the end of the war arc and the aftermath of after the war arc. So the beginning of the episode, the first half of the episode, starts off with obviously All For One using the possessed Tomura Shigaraki to go over to Tartarus and basically break out a whole bunch of prisoners that are there, including All For One himself. We see Moonfish. I'm going to point out a couple of villains. Moonfish, which we haven't seen since like the training arc in season 3. So it's been a while, and I feel like it's kind of odd that we haven't seen him in a while. I didn't even realize he was there. I guess he's just, I don't know. Anyways, we see Lady Nagant, who I've like already talked about a little bit as well, and we don't see a whole lot of her, but when we get to see more of her, it's going to be really interesting. Overhaul. We end up seeing Overhaul in the episode, which I thought was also pretty interesting considering the fact that he doesn't have fucking arms anymore. So he can't really use his quirk anymore. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. I don't know if somehow All For One is gonna give Chisaki like his hands or his arms back to be able to finally use his quirk again. I have no idea. And then obviously All For One. Oh yeah, Muscular also shows up. I almost forgot about him. He's gonna be pretty important later, right after Deku goes full vigilante. All For One, he's like talking about like how, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the greatest demon lord and blah 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 and all this other shit. Even in the manga, when I read the chapter, I was like, yeah, this is cool and all, because it's like, it's the bad guy and like going through all these prisons and breaking out a whole bunch of like prisoners, and now they're gonna go out through all the cities and all the streets, and the civilians are gonna be even more hesitant and relying on the heroes, because like they just allowed all these prisoners to escape from all these max security prisons. How could they allow that to happen? And yada yada yada. And you know, that's cool and all, but I was just like, even like I said, even when I read that in the manga, I was like, this is cool and all, but it's not really what I want to see. I want to get to all the other stuff that I've been like really waiting for to happen, and it's, you know, the recovery period where we see Bakugo wake up and he really wants to check on Deku, but Deku's like completely unconscious, and he doesn't show any signs of waking up. But obviously, if you know what happens in the manga, it's because he's communicating with the other vestiges of One for All. Endeavors against surgery, and he's recovering. Todoroki Shoto is awake, but he's his throat is burned and he can't really talk right now. But then the rest of his family shows up. His elder brother, not Toya, his Natsuo, his elder brother, his elder sister, and his mom especially, which is a surprise. They all show up, and they're going to be pretty integral to what happens most likely next week, when they start revealing more of what happened to Toya and why he is the way that he is now. I'm really excited. You know, it kind of feels like this episode kind of just felt like it was setting up a whole lot more that was supposed to happen later, you know, and that's fine. Like, obviously, like, the prison escape thing is like showing off like, hey, here are all these villains. You know, these villains are probably going to be pretty important later on, so you better remember that they are around. Obviously, the stuff revolving around the Todoroki family and Endeavor, and eventually later when we get to the part with Deku, and what his goals are going to be, which is basically just to go full vigilante mode. He's not going to be at the school anymore. He's just going to go off and do his own thing, because he realizes that he's the main target, right? They're going after him. All For One's going after him because he's trying to get One For All. So he's not going to be able to go into school anymore. He's not going to be able to be around his friends, his family. He's not going to be able to live a normal life anymore. So he's going to have to go off and just already start off being a hero, sort of like All Might, and like the way that he wanted to be, but not in an official manner. He's going to, like I said, be a vigilante, not a proper hero, but still acting like a hero. I'm interested. I'm interested to see what ends up happening. I'm excited. You know, obviously, finally it's being animated, so it's going to look really pretty. And yeah, that's all I kind of really have to say about the episode. Like I said in the beginning, it's early in the morning. I stayed up all night, so technically it's late at night for me. I'm really tired. I want to go to bed. So yeah, the episode just felt like it was setting up a whole lot more of what's going to happen later in the future. That's fine, but obviously some more interesting stuff for me personally could have happened. But that's whatever. Anyways, if you liked the video, be sure to if you liked the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more, please be sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys next one. Have a fantastic day. I'm out. Peace.